Hey everybody, we're here at the factory of Fuji Matcha. I have my slippers on here, and basically the leaves come in here on this truck or on a different truck, and they're weighed on this platform right here. And this is how they determine how much weight is actually coming into the factory. Then the leaves move over into these bins, these big bins here, and as you can see, there are holes at the bottom. Where hot air is blown underneath the leaves to halt the oxidation process. Then the tea leaves are going to move over this way into this conveyor belt here, and they're going to move all the way to the end over there. So we're here at the next step of the production, and this device is actually known as the moderator. And what it does is it breaks up the clumps of tea leaves. So the tea leaves are going to come in here in large piles. But what happens is if the leaves are in too big of a pile during the steaming process, the leaves on the inside of the pile don't get steamed as much. So this machine right here breaks up the leaves into smaller, more manageable parts for the steaming process. Okay, so in the next step of the process, the tea leaves are going to travel up this pipe there, and they're going to go on that little conveyor belt into this next room here. So then what's going to happen is the leaves are going to drop down into here, go through another moderator process, and then they end up in here for the steaming process. So what makes Tencha different from Sencha, for example, is the Sencha leaves are steamed for 40 seconds. The Tencha leaves are only steamed for about 15. And the reason they steam it for less is because they don't want the tea leaves to become too damp, and they're a little bit harder to work with. So it only takes about 15 seconds to steam the tea. And the reason they steam it is to stop the oxidation and fermentation of the tea, so it maintains that nice green color. So after the steaming process, the leaves need to be cooled down and they need to be dried. So this is the perfect machine for that. The leaves are put into this barrel here, and then some air is blown underneath to dry it out and cool it down. What happens is the drier leaves float to the top, and then they come back down and they go through this chamber here into the next barrel. And from the second barrel, the same thing happens. They go up, the dry ones come down, and they float into this third barrel here. And then the process is repeated until they get to this, which is the waiting station for the oven. And after this, the tea is going to go into the oven to be heated, and they need to be dry in order for that to happen, so they can all become uniform. Because if some leaves are too wet, they're going to come out a little bit differently in the end. So here we have the oven for the Tencha, where the leaves are heated at 220 Celsius. And there's a bunch of different levels here. So as you can see right here is a conveyor belt. The Tencha leaves go onto the conveyor belt. They go all the way to the end of the oven, and then they come back, and they do that 4 more times until they're finished, and then they go into this chamber and get blown through this tube, this pipe right here, into the next process. So here you can see a little bit of residue, and what they said is this is actually the caffeine that was extracted from the teas mixed with the tea powder. And they said in May, when they're actually running the factory, that the caffeine is floating through the air. And so he was joking that the workers don't need to sleep because the caffeine is just floating in the air. So this machine right here is very important to the production of Tencha. This is where the stems are separated from the leaves. So after the leaves have been dried, they come in through this pipe here, and they get funneled into this machine, and the leaves are actually pressed and crushed. So the stems are separated from the leaves, and the stems go in one place and the leaves go in the other place to the next stage of the production. Okay, so after they come out of this machine here, they're going to have 12% moisture content, and they need to be taken down to 5% moisture content. So that's where this machine comes in. This is another drying process where the leaves are placed on these little racks here, and they're taken for their final drying, which takes about 20 minutes, and it's going to take them from 12% moisture to 5% moisture, and then that would be the final product. Okay, so the final stage in the production of Tencha, the leaves, once they've been dried and brought down to 5% moisture content, they're gonna come down this chute and they're gonna put a bag here for the Tencha leaves to go into the bag. And then what's gonna happen is they're gonna be weighed on this scale right here. So then the bags are brought over here and they're kept in storage. So this bag right here is 19 kilograms, that bag over there is 25, the rest of them are 25. So here we have, you know, hundreds and hundreds of kilograms of tea.